The day the college entrance exams ended, in front of the whole class, I threw a stack of cash at Wenying, the school beauty. I've had enough fun. Let's end it here. She bent down and picked up every bill from the floor. In a hoarse voice, she said, okay. When summer ended, Wenying boarded a train for Qingbai, while I flew overseas to begin a long course of chemotherapy. Years later, I returned home. I lay in a hospital bed, having lost all my hair to treatment. As I searched for a wig on my phone, the ward door opened. Wenying, dressed in a white coat, met my eyes. The noisy ward instantly fell silent. The nurse beside my bed pointed at me. Professor Song, this is the new patient in our group. He has already signed the consent form. The instant Wenying looked over, my whole body went rigid. My mind went completely blank. It had been 10 years. I thought we'd never cross paths again. Yet she had suddenly become my attending physician, and she walked in while I was doing gas relief exercises. I'm dead. When Wenying entered with the interns, I scrambled out of bed, straightened my crooked mask, and stayed silent as a mouse. Though I didn't meet her eyes, I could still feel her gaze on me. It was ice cold, without a trace of warmth. Nothing like the look she used to give me when I got a problem wrong, exasperated, yet gentle. Mr. Liu, this is Professor Wenying from our team. She is responsible for your treatment plan. After the nurse finished, I nodded, avoiding her gaze. An intern beside her held up a chart and began reading my medical history. Sinian, male, 28 years old. 10 years ago, a physical exam found swollen lymph nodes in his neck. Preliminary diagnosis, non-hodgkin lymphoma. Further pathology found. No need to continue. Do you know this patient? At those words, my heart leaped into my throat. I pretended to be busy with my phone. After a moment, Wenying answered flatly, no, his case is unusual. I reviewed it beforehand. My phone had automatically opened Taobao. The payment countdown had begun. Seconds ticked by. I was distracted and didn't tap to pay for ages. After hearing the intern's treatment report, Wenying showed no emotion. All right, continue the current treatment. Reassess tomorrow. With that, she moved to the next patient. Rounds lasted 20 minutes. Until she left, she never looked at me again. I moved my stiff neck and realized my back was drenched in sweat. The wig listing I'd had, thanks to that interruption, already sold out. TSK. What rotten luck. Still, the one thing I could be thankful for was that Wenying had long forgotten me. Even when the intern read out my name, she hadn't reacted at all. When Wenying and I first met, we did not get along. My family had some money, so I ran wild. My grades were at the bottom of the class. To make me study seriously, our homeroom teacher made Wenying my desk mate. At first, Wenying barely spoke to me. Every day, she sat with her test papers, working through them again and again. She was smart, kind, and beautiful. Her only flaw was that she was poor. I was different. I wasn't smart, and I wasn't nice. Sitting beside Wenying, I was like a brainless upstart with money. At least I had decent social skills. While every boy in school sent her flowers and love letters, I bought her 5 years of college entrance exams, 3 years of mock test. I bought every set of practice papers she used. In less than a semester, I won her over. The day I carefully kissed Wenying was her birthday. Her white dress was rumpled, and her lips were red and swollen. With her eyes lowered, she asked me, what does that mean? It was my first time kissing a girl, and my brain shut down too. I stammered, you still don't get it. Be my girlfriend. Wenying's ears turned faintly red. Softly, she said, okay. Those days were truly wonderful. I never liked studying, but whenever I entered the classroom, I'd obediently sit beside Wenying and let her tutor me. Within a year, my total score rose by more than 100 points. By my calculation, I could get into Qingbai, and Wenying and I would not have to date long distance. If only a later physical exam hadn't found something wrong with me. Ugh. The sound of my vomiting echoed through the ward. I clung to the toilet, my vision going black. Cold sweat soaking my body. Xing patted my back. This cannot go on. Your reaction is too severe. I'll get a doctor. I grabbed his hand. No, I'm used to it. Back then, I went through 27 rounds of chemotherapy. I was alone overseas, and I still made it through. I held on for 10 years, but the illness returned. Who knows how much more suffering awaits me? If I call for a doctor every time, I'd probably just annoy them. Xing said unwillingly. Isn't Wenying your attending physician? I'll go get her. She'll know what to do. I grabbed Xing's arm. For heaven's sake, please settle down. You should be glad she didn't recognize me. If she had, she prescribed me 100 rounds of chemo. Who said you'd need 100 rounds of chemotherapy? A cool voice came from behind me. My whole body stiffened. I didn't even dare turn around. Xing let out a long breath. Professor Song, Sinian isn't feeling well. It's a normal reaction to chemotherapy. If he cannot handle it. I didn't hear what Wenying said to Xing after that. I couldn't hear it because my mind was filled with what I just said. She didn't hear that, did she? That evening, A nurse came to give me an anti-nausea injection. There was a probing note in her voice. Do you know Professor Song? I lay sprawled on the bed, utterly defeated. No. Why do you ask? Professor Song never handles things like this. But this time, she specifically went to the office and instructed your attending doctor to prescribe an anti-nausea injection. I looked at my reflection. I was much thinner, worn down by illness. My complexion was terrible. Compared to 10 years ago, I looked nothing like I had 10 years ago. No way. No matter how good Song Wenying's memory was, she couldn't. Actually, she could. She had an excellent memory. What if she'd held a grudge against me all this time? Right there, Sinian. My name hung in plain sight above my bed. How could I have thought she wouldn't recognize me? Shingy suddenly chimed in. Your Professor Song is only 28. Right? She's already a professor at such a young age. You know an awful lot. Professor Song went straight through medical school, master's and doctorate programs. She was only about 26 or 27 when she earned her doctorate. With a resume like hers, she's one in a million. Ordinary people can't compare. What? Are you trying to pursue Professor Song? Save yourself the trouble. She already has someone she likes. Shingy grinned and winked at me. Then the nurse said, the hospital director's son. He earned his doctorate overseas and returned home. Who knows? They might get married any day now. As soon as she said that, Shingy's smile froze. I tugged at my loose hospital gown, suddenly fascinated by a loose thread on it. After the nurse left, Shingy looked at me apologetically. Sinian, I'm sorry. Hey, what's there to apologize for? I'm 28 now, not 18. That fantasy of an untouchable goddess falling for me stopped being my dream 10 years ago. After that day, I never saw Song Wenying again. Though I couldn't see her, I still caught scraps of news about her from others. She was either away at an academic conference or conducting research at a lab facility. She made ward rounds about once a week to advise on treatment plans. During the breaks between chemotherapy, patients could be discharged and go home. So, until I was discharged, I never saw Song Wenying again. On my way home, I got a call from my high school class president. Sinian, are you still in Jingbai? How is your treatment going? The other end of the call was bustling, full of noise and laughter. Our academic representative cut in. Why didn't you tell everyone you were sick? If the class president hadn't mentioned it, we wouldn't have known. I had gotten along fairly well with my classmates in high school. Over the years, I occasionally kept in touch with the class president and the others. I gave a self-mocking laugh and said into the phone, I didn't want to trouble everyone. That's not how it works. Tell you what, where are you staying? We'll come see you tomorrow. I couldn't refuse their kindness, so I finally gave them my address. The next day, not many of my high school classmates came, just 5 or 6. They carried in bags and bags of ingredients. We planned to have hot pot, but it was hot outside. Let's stir-fry some dishes instead. Wearing a thick knit cap, I smiled and said, it's fine. We've got air conditioning. What's the problem? I want hot pot too. Everyone noisily poured into the kitchen, and the apartment instantly came alive. As the class president sorted vegetables, she asked me, have you contacted Song Wenying? I froze for a second. Seriously, don't you know she's a specialist in blood disorders? She specializes in treating lymphoma. Why not ask her? I truly didn't want to have much to do with Song Wenying. Just as I was about to refuse, the doorbell suddenly rang. The class president wiped her apron, then got up to answer the door. A moment later, I heard my classmates cry out excitedly, Wenying, you finally made it. Look at you. Professor Song, it's been so long. Come in and sit down. Sinian wants hot pot. You're the expert, so you tell us whether he can eat it. I stood there stupidly, frozen. My unmasked face felt instantly exposed beneath the blazing sun, burning with anxiety. I never expected they'd actually invited Song Wenying, and that she'd see me before I'd even washed my face, without so much as a mask on. There I was, face to face with her. Song Wenying looked at me calmly, then said evenly, have a clear broth hot pot. All right, we'll listen to the professor. No spicy broth. Everyone got busy again. Song Wenying took the slippers the class president offered and changed into them. Then she handed a bag of fruit to a classmate in the kitchen. The class president tried to lighten the mood. Come on, whatever happened is in the past. Let bygones be bygones. Song Wenying, be the bigger person. Don't hold it against Sinian. Come help sort the vegetables. A colander was stuffed into Song Wenying's arms, filled with water spinach. They pushed her into a seat opposite the sofa. In an instant, the living room held only the two of us. The air conditioner in the corner rattled noisily, avoiding her gaze. I hurriedly pulled out the mask tucked beneath me, about to put it on. With a sharp snap, Song Wenying broke off the water spinach stems. She said flatly, I've already recognized you. Is there any point in hiding? The living room grew awkward. More precisely, I was the only one who felt awkward. After choosing my words for a moment, I said somewhat dejectedly. I thought you hadn't recognized me, so I didn't say hello at the hospital a few days ago. There was no need. We're not close. We don't need to greet each other. Song Wenying kept her head down, expertly sorting the water spinach. She had absolutely no intention of talking to me. I silently nodded. Awkward and overly formal, I nudged the glass of water toward her. You, have some water. I'm not thirsty. Thank you. She turned me down. I couldn't keep forcing warmth on someone so cold, so I simply sat there, desperately trying to remember whether, while hospitalized, I'd done anything embarrassing. The class president suddenly popped out of the kitchen. Sinian, we're out of paper towels. Give me a roll. I answered and hurried to my feet, searching the bottom shelf of the cabinet. The landlord's old furniture had seen better days. The moment I opened the drawer, the whole cabinet shook violently. The photo frame propped upside down against the wall on top gave way first. After a few low creaks, it tipped downward. By the time I reacted, it was too late. I could only shield my head on instinct, crouching on the floor and waiting for the frame to hit me. The next second, everything before me went dark. Song Wenying caught the falling frame. With the light behind her, I couldn't make out Song Wenying's expression. I only felt an icy chill around her, as if she wasn't very happy. Thanks. Song Wenying ignored me. When I crawled out from beneath the frame, I saw she was staring at a photo I'd secretly taken of her sleeping years ago. Inside the frame, midsummer sunlight filtered through gaps in the trees, falling over the girl's lovely profile. She was fast asleep, unaware that I'd secretly hooked my finger around hers. Song Wenying looked at me coldly and said, Sinian, don't you have an explanation? Hearing that, I hesitated for a moment, then scratched my head and gave an awkward laugh. Isn't this a wall of my exes? Ha ha ha. I was just keeping it as a memento. Oh. Song Wenying pointed at several photos of Shingy and me together. Her icy voice wavered. So, by your logic, you've dated men too. I swallowed. Then I stammered with a laugh. Yeah. I've dated men too. But Song Wenying's sharp gaze felt as though it could burn me to ashes. Gradually, I couldn't smile anymore. My eyes darted everywhere, except toward her. Sinian, you too. The class president opened the kitchen door. She was about to say something, but noticed the strange, tense atmosphere, and abruptly fell silent. Song Wenying's face darkened. She put the photo frame back, pulled out a tissue, wiped her hands. Then she grabbed her coat and headed out. Hey, Song Wenying, where are you going? Something came up at the hospital. I'm leaving. Wait, we haven't finished talking about Sinian yet. Song Wenying, stay for dinner before you go. Song Wenying stood in the entryway, glancing at my silent figure. She seemed to be waiting for me to say something, but I disappointed her. I said nothing. Song Wenying gave a self-mocking smile. What's the point of an unwelcome ex like me staying here? Is there any need? Click. The door closed. Song Wenying was gone. Class president, you're still amazing. Your cooking hasn't slipped one bit after all these years. The class president held her teacup with a cheerful smile and tipped her chin at me. Sinian, don't take it to heart. Wenying, I'll have a word with her another day. She wouldn't refuse me. Her old class president, would she? As soon as she finished speaking, the other classmates chimed in to comfort me. When I called her, Song Wenying was already very busy. The fact that she came says enough. She'll definitely help you. Honestly, I wasn't that upset. If anything, I felt guilty towards Song Wenying. As far as I was concerned, Song Wenying and I should never have had so much to do with each other. I couldn't burden her again because of my illness, or cause her more trouble. We had a lively hot pot dinner. During dinner, the class president started a video call in our class group. Very few people could answer, but the group chat soon came alive. Everyone chatted about everything under the sun. For a moment, it felt like we'd gone back to the days before the college entrance exams. We'd eagerly talked about our futures and dreams, making plans for a graduation trip. Back then, Song Wenying and I sat together in class. A week before the exams, she came back from the teacher's office and saw me holding a marker, scribbling wildly over a map. She asked, "What are you doing?" I held up the map and waved it before her. "Don't recognize it. This is Jingbai." 2 red circles had been drawn on it. "This is your school, and this one is my school." Then I drew a straight line between them, between 2 points. A straight line is the shortest distance. That's the distance between us from now on. Song Wenying couldn't help laughing. "You're coming to Jingbai for college. Aren't you happy?" She sat down beside me, stacking her exam papers one by one, then placing them inside her desk. She said softly, "But I was unlucky." A few days later, I got my physical exam report. The lab results were a complete disaster. Arrows marking abnormalities covered the entire page. The doctor urged my parents to take me to Jingbai for further tests. From how things looked then, I likely wouldn't be able to attend college. I cautiously asked Song Wenying, "If one day I got seriously ill and couldn't go to Jingbai, what would you do?" Song Wenying's pen stopped. She frowned. "You're sick?" Don't curse me. You're the one who's sick. It's an online quiz. Answer seriously. I'd probably get into the best medical school, so I'd just change my college choice. That one sentence threw my heart into turmoil. I carelessly shoved my math paper onto her desk. Alright, do your math problems. Song Wenying had always loved math most of all. I couldn't understand why she later chose medicine. On the afternoon, the college entrance exams were about to end. My nose started bleeding. Blood stained my exam paper. I didn't know if that counted as contaminating the paper. None of that mattered anymore. I left that very night for Jingbai. Standing on Jingbi's bustling streets, I felt so miserable I nearly cried. Our promise to meet in Jingbai. I was the one who arrived first. Later, after my diagnosis, I returned home to pack in front of our classmates, threw a stack of cash at Song Wenying. For our relationship, I gave it a hasty ending. The second time I was hospitalized, I was in the same ward. Only this time, the other patients had changed. The child from last time had died at the start of the month. They'd wheeled the child out of this ward, not even 5 years old. When Shingy heard the news, his eyes immediately reddened. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. Meanwhile, I was angrily arguing with an online seller. Do I look like a bank robber? We're both law-abiding citizens here. I sent them a photo of myself with stockings over my head. I bought a hat, and you sent me stockings. When Song Wenying came in, I just received my refund. I burrowed under the covers at nearly lightning speed, leaving only my back exposed. Sinian. Song Wenying's voice was even, hidden beneath the covers. I replied in a muffled voice. Sinian isn't here. I'm his buddy, Shingy. Beside me, Shingy was rendered speechless. Song Wenying still pulled back my covers. My hair was a complete mess. Like a guilty little mutt, I looked up at her. Her expression was cold. Her lips were pressed tightly together. A male doctor beside her said with a smile, Wenying adjusted your medication plan. She was going to tell you. But the moment she walked in, she saw. The rest went without saying. Everyone in the ward laughed. Only Song Wenying didn't. Looks like you're not in the mood to hear this now. I'll come back tomorrow. Don't, Professor Song. Please, go ahead. I'll listen carefully. I hurriedly grabbed the hem of her coat. After years of seeking treatment, I'd long grown used to humbling myself to please doctors. Song Wenying's gaze fell on my fingertips. Her lips parted, her brow furrowed deeply. For an instant, I thought she wanted to cry. I really was sick enough to lose my mind. Song Wenying stood beside my bed, explaining things without emotion for nearly half an hour. She paused at exactly the right point after every sentence, making sure I understood. She wanted to switch me to a new drug. It worked well, but the side effects were severe. Leaning against the bed, I said with a smile, Hey, I know, it's a clinical trial. Clinical trials always need participants. I never went to college. I haven't contributed much to society either. Even if it fails in the end, I won't have any regrets. Sinian, I would never treat a human life lightly. Song Wenying pressed her lips tightly together. Her stern expression somehow put me at ease. The new drug side effects came very quickly. I took it during the day, and by evening, I was clutching the toilet, nearly vomiting up my stomach. Then came the heartburn and irritability. While Shingy went home to rest, I wheeled myself alone to the little garden outside the hospital. At dusk, the setting sun lay quietly across the lake. When the wind blew, the glittering water churned, like tens of thousands of goldfish tumbling through the waves. I sat in the breeze, occasionally burying my head in a plastic bag to vomit. When I raised my head again, a man suddenly stood before me. Mr. Liu, what a coincidence. What are you doing here? It was the male doctor who had stood beside Song Wenying that day. I'd forgotten to ask his name, but he quickly cleared that up. He held out his hand and introduced himself. I shook his hand. The wedding ring on his ring finger caught my eye. I remembered. The hospital director's surname was Gu. Could he be the director's son? The man who was going to marry Song Wenying. Shiyan stood beside me and asked gently, How did you meet Yang? It took me a moment to realize that the Ain he meant was Song Wenying. The atmosphere suddenly turned a little awkward. I straightened my crooked hat. We were high school classmates. Just classmates. But Shiyan gave a soft laugh. That's not what I heard. You're Song Wenying's ex-boyfriend. The year the college entrance exams ended, you threw a stack of cash at her and dumped her. He was far from polite. He was probably here to stand up for his fiancée. When I said nothing, he lowered his head and continued. Why? Because you got sick. You wanted to push Song Wenying away like this. I still said nothing. The wind howled past my shoulders. I heard Shiyan scoff. How stupid. I really have you to thank. Thanks to you, I can be engaged to Song Wenying. I've been sick for so many years. An illness had nearly worn away my temper. But hearing that, I couldn't help snapping back. Then why don't you get on your knees and thank me, and transfer 5 million to me? Shiyan was so angered that he couldn't speak. I shot him a sidelong glare, and said irritably, What do you want to hear? That I regret it. But instead of getting angry, Guxian laughed. Don't you regret it? I do. The moment I said that, Guxian froze. I shamelessly continued with a grin. I'll go win Song Wenying back right now. I'll confess to her. I'll shamelessly tell her I still love her, and make her dump you and marry me immediately. With that, I lifted my chin and squared my shoulders, waiting for Guxian to look like he'd swallowed something vile. Instead, he merely looked behind me with a strange expression and said with a smile, Song Wenying, if your ex-boyfriend confessed to you, would you come back to him? My smile froze. It felt like I'd stepped into a bottomless pit. I turned and met Song Wenying's cold gaze. My face burned as if drenched in hot chili oil. The sunset dyed Song Wenying's white coat a brilliant orange. Her cool face showed no expression. You can try. I could barely think. I asked instinctively. Try what? Tell me you still love me. At that moment, the sunset reflected perfectly off the rippling lake. Golden light swallowed Song Wenying's figure. Dizzy and disoriented, I heard her voice drift from somewhere far away. You can try. Tell me you still love me, then see whether I'll come back to you. Ringing filled my head. When I came back to myself, I saw Guxian's retreating figure and Song Wenying slowly walking toward me. As for me, sitting in my wheelchair, my legs felt as heavy as lead. I let Song Wenying take hold of my wheelchair. What I felt in that moment, embarrassment and inferiority, humiliation and regret, layer upon layer of emotion piled up, becoming a boulder lodged in my throat. Song Wenying pushed me along the lake shore. The wind carried her quiet question. Aren't you going to say it? I lowered my head and picked at my nails, asking softly, say what? Everything I said just now was just nonsense. After I said that, Song Wenying stopped walking. There was clear anger in her voice. Sinian, is playing with me fun? To you, is love really so cheap? I lowered my head awkwardly, my voice barely a whisper. I wasn't playing with you. I only said it to argue with him. It won't happen again. I'm sorry for causing you this kind of trouble. I used to sense Song Wenying's mood so easily. Before she got angry, I grinned and dropped to my knees at lightning speed to apologize. But this time, I truly couldn't smile. Not only could I not smile, tears were starting to pool in my eyes. Guxian and I are indeed supposed to get engaged, but that is only his father's wishful thinking. With that, Song Wenying came over and crouched beside me, looking directly into my eyes. Her pale eyes bore into me with overwhelming pressure. I asked him to come today. Those cruel words, I told him to say them too. Under her close scrutiny, a flash of anger and grievance surged through me. I was already this unlucky. I was someone about to die. Yet she was still hounding me. At that thought, I said bitterly, well, congratulations. If I hadn't dumped you, you couldn't have married into the hospital director's powerful family. Exactly. That's why I said you're unbelievably stupid. Song Wenying, I don't want to fight. I feel awful. I feel like throwing up. My eyes reddened, and tears slid down my face. About what happened back then. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have hurt your feelings. I shouldn't have humiliated you in public. I was wrong. Can you just let me go? Song Wenying gripped my shoulders tightly. She lowered her head and took a deep breath, then looked back at me. You think I care about that? I've come this far. Sinian, do you think I care that you humiliated me? Do you think I don't know why you broke up with me? Song Wenying, who should have studied mathematics, had become a doctor. She had given up the program she loved. Now, standing here, right before me, her eyes brimmed with grievance. With reddened eyes, she demanded, I've suffered for so many years to come back to your side. Why should one word from you let me go mean I have to disappear from your life? After Song Wenying finished, I went still. Back then, I only told our class president. I asked him to keep it secret. Had he told Song Wenying? The wind grew stronger. A nurse called for me from the distance. Song Wenying stood up, reining in her emotions. Then, with nothing left to lose, she said, Sinian, you're sick? I won't fight with you, but you'll never get rid of me. After we came back inside, I sat on my hospital bed, lost in thought. Shinny waved a hand before my eyes. What's wrong? Why do you look so out of it? Song Wenying studied medicine. I know. I'm not stupid. Seeing my red-rimmed eyes, Shinny seemed to realize something. His mouth fell open. You mean, she studied medicine for? That night, after Shingy went home, I called our class president. Hello, Sinian. Is something wrong? Yes, it's about Song Wenying. The class president suddenly fell silent. Only a child's babbling remained on the line. Sinian, I'm sorry. I told Song Wenying about you. Just as I thought. Dejected, I buried my face in my knees and sighed. The class president spoke anxiously. I know it wasn't right of me, but you left in such a hurry. You threw a stack of cash at her and vanished. Song Wenying waited outside my home for an entire week. She even drew a group of college recruiters there. My parents thought my grades were outstanding and nearly threw a celebration. But most importantly, in 7 days, she lost nearly 11 pounds. If you'd seen her like that, you wouldn't have had the heart to keep it from her either. Later, I learned she'd changed her college plans. Well, how can I put it? It didn't sit right with me either. I was afraid you'd blame me, so I never dared tell you all these years. Sinian, Are you listening? I wiped my tears away and choked out. Yes, I heard you. I don't blame you. Sorry for causing you trouble. Oh, it's no trouble, really. You just should talk things out. After I hung up, the room fell deathly silent. I gripped my phone, my chest aching dully. In the pitch-black hospital room, a suppressed growl escaped me. I felt like an idiot. I'd smugly arranged everything, thinking I'd kept it hidden from everyone. Yet the person who mattered most had known from the very start. In the darkness, a sliver of light suddenly spilled in. The hospital room door opened. Song Wenying stood in the doorway, her eyes meeting mine through my tear-streaked face. Her expression tightened. She hurried over. What's wrong? Where does it hurt? I could no longer hold back the emotions pushing me toward collapse. I suddenly broke into sobs. Why did you change your major? Idiot. I don't need you at all. Don't you understand? Song Wenying froze. Then her expression suddenly softened. With her lips pressed together, she silently let me vent. She was far too patient. You spoke to the class president. Then that's good. Song Wenying crouched down and looked up at me. Her eyes shone frighteningly bright. Let's get back together. Can we make up and never break up again? My body instinctively recoiled, but Song Wenying suddenly seized my shoulders. Sinian. Song Wenying raised her voice, forcing me to look at her. I know what you're afraid of. She raised a hand and swore. I swear, I won't give up my life for you, even if one day. Her lips trembled. So did her voice. She choked up for a moment, as though she couldn't bear to say the words, but she said them anyway. Even if one day death separates us, Song Wenying, swear, I will never, for Sinian, give up my own life. She cupped my face and whispered, now, will you tell me you love me? Wind blew through the half-open window, brushing against my tear-wet cheeks and bringing a trace of cold. The moonlight was cool as water. Birds fluttered by the lake. Weary birds returning to the woods. I was like one of those weary birds. I'd flown alone for 10 years. Only by constantly beating my wings could I seem truly alive. Optimistic, positive, bravely fighting my illness. But I get scared too. I despair. I resent heaven's unfairness. I hate my own rotten luck. I couldn't find a forest to shelter me. The moment I let my guard down, I plunged into an abyss of negative emotions. I was so tired that I wanted to lean on Song Wenying, even if only for one day, to give my weary wings somewhere to rest. Then, when tomorrow's sun rose, I could spread my wings and keep flying toward death. I wrapped my arms around Song Wenying, lowered my head, and sobbed into her shoulder. After my second round of chemotherapy, my weight hit an all-time low. When it rains, it pours. My landlord suddenly called. His son was getting married, so he would no longer rent me the apartment. He would pay me double the contract penalty and gave me 2 days to find somewhere else to live. While I argued with my landlord, Song Wenying sat beside me. She frowned and asked, want me to talk to him? I hung up. No need. The compensation is generous. It's enough for me to find a new place. I've traveled everywhere for treatment these past years, never staying anywhere for long. I'm used to this by now. Move in with me. Song Wenying looked away quietly. It's close to the hospital, so it'll be easier for your appointments. Oh, wouldn't that be a burden for you? It won't. So I naturally moved into Song Wenying's apartment. It was in a fairly nice complex near the hospital. The apartment wasn't large, but the layout was excellent. Compared to my rental, it was infinitely better. Song Wenying had to work, so she gave me the door code. Have the movers leave your luggage in the living room. I'll sort it out tonight. I stood in the apartment and scratched my head. I never imagined I'd end up living with Song Wenying like this, in her private space for the first time. I was unusually cautious. Sitting properly on the couch, I asked Song Wenying, which room am I staying in? Any room. She was busy working, and regarding my question, gave no further answer. I braced myself and entered the room on the right. The bedding was creamy white, with elegant pale curtains. Song Wenying's shirts and dresses filled the transparent wardrobe. It was the master bedroom. I closed the door and opened the other room, putting my suitcase inside. The sky gradually darkened. I made dinner, set out the dishes and chopsticks, and waited at the table. Before I knew it, I had fallen asleep waiting. When Song Wenying came in, I was dreaming with my head on the table. My cap sat crookedly on my head, barely clinging on. When she came to my side, I jolted awake. You're back? Maybe it was my imagination. Song Wenying looked at me differently than she had at the hospital. Her gaze was far more fervent. Flustered, I straightened my cap and got to my feet. I've already eaten. I'll go to bed first. Song Wenying withdrew her gaze and murmured, okay, I'm busy with work. Don't wait up for me next time. After softly agreeing, I quickly slipped back into the guest room. I checked my cap in the mirror, filled with regret. It was my favorite one. It seemed to have slipped down just now. Song Wenying didn't see the top of my head, did she? I gritted my teeth, took off my cap, and sighed miserably. I'd always cared about my appearance. I especially loved styling my hair. Back in school, my hair looked great. Thick, black, and glossy. In the years before my relapse, my hair had been thick and black too. But now, the me in the mirror, with my thinning hair, couldn't smile at all. I looked hideous. This was only my second round of chemotherapy. After a few more, I'd have to shave it all off. Suddenly, a knock sounded at my door. Then Song Wenying's voice came through. Your toiletries are in the bathroom. Do you want to come wash up? At once. I turned off the light and crawled under the covers. No, I'm going to sleep. There was no further sound from Song Wenying outside. She stood at the door for a while, then left. I waited until the middle of the night, until the last light outside disappeared. Before jumping out of bed, I quietly opened the door, planning to wash up in the bathroom, but I suddenly spotted a faint light coming from the living room. Song Wenying was sitting on the couch, piles of documents beside her. A small lamp lit her face. Song Wenying easily spotted my sneaking, bareheaded self. I froze. I didn't know whether to shut the door and keep pretending to sleep, or walk out and wash up as usual. Song Wenying put down her documents and rose to come over. I had just woke up. I was going to wash up. Don't move. Song Wenying caught the hand I was using to cover my head and pressed me against the wall. Her warm breath washed over my face. She lifted her head and kissed me. My body trembled, my heart raced out of control, and even my breathing quickened. Song Wenying stroked my hair. This looks much better. What does? You without your cap? I turned my head away and said bitterly, stop looking. It's so ugly. It's not ugly. You're very handsome. Song Wenying hooked her fingers around mine and led me into the bathroom. There was something I wanted to tell you earlier. She turned on the light. Everything on the bathroom counter came into view. In plain sight was an electric hair clipper. Looking at me in the mirror, she asked, do you know how to shave a head? I don't want to shave mine that soon. At least I still have some hair. Song Wenying handed me the clippers. I mean, you shaved mine. Are you crazy? I looked at her long, thick black hair, my brow deeply furrowed. I couldn't stop imagining Song Wenying with a shaved head. She wouldn't look ugly, but it would be a little strange. Ignoring me, Song Wenying brought over a small stool. I look too young. I want you to shave me so my patients will trust me. The clippers were plugged in, buzzing softly. My eyes stung, and I fought back tears. I don't want to. She clearly wanted to go through this with me. Song Wenying smiled and took hold of my wrist. Don't be afraid. Come on. Her hand was steady. Amid the clippers buzzing, Song Wenying's long hair fell to the floor. She truly wasn't the least bit sad to lose it. She didn't leave a single strand. I looked at her reflection in the mirror and pouted. That really backfired. You look even younger now. The clippers were tossed aside. Song Wenying stood up and looked into my reddened eyes. If shaving my head lets me stay by your side every day, I think it's worth it. When it's time for me to shave your hair, you won't hold it against me because you already shaved mine. I couldn't help laughing through my tears. Then I'll hold it against you too. The mirror reflected both our faces. One had red-rimmed eyes and a ridiculous smile. The other smiled brightly, her eyes full of affection. Song Wenying wrapped her arms around my waist and said softly, all right, then stay glued to me. I'll take whatever you call me. Later, when I bought a wig, I bought one for Song Wenying too. After all, several times, when her students saw her, they were left staring in shock. I thought it undermined her authority as their mentor. Song Wenying happily accepted it. From then on, only when we were home would the two of us take off our wigs. A few more months passed. My treatment ended. My condition was largely stable and no longer worsening. To celebrate, our class president organized another small reunion. Sinian, how are you feeling? I won't invite her this time. This is mainly to celebrate you, so things won't be awkward. I had the call on speakerphone. Song Wenying was cooking. She glanced at my phone screen and said calmly, Sinian and I will be there on time. Wenying, why are you there too? We're back together. I'm free Saturday. Send Sinian the location once it's set. After I hung up, I looked at her anxiously and asked, you're working the night shift Friday. Maybe forget it. Let's not go. After Song Wenying stayed up all night, she wouldn't get home until 10 on Saturday, with no time to catch up on sleep. With her back to me, she kept cooking as she said, no, we're going. At the class reunion 10 years ago, neither of us went. I don't want to miss this one. Watching Song Wenying bustle around, I turned away and rubbed my eyes, then said with a smile, oh, then I'll pick out a handsome hat. Okay, pick one for me too. The atmosphere at this reunion was clearly much better than last time. Everyone was lively, like old friends reunited. The moment Song Wenying and I arrived, we were pulled to the back of the private room, surrounded by classmates. When did you two get back together? Who made the first move? What happened with you two last time? Did you have a fight? I felt a little embarrassed, not knowing where to begin. But Song Wenying stayed perfectly composed and answered each question. We got back together a few months ago. I made the first move. Last time, I was in the wrong. I threw a tantrum at him. Everyone grinned knowingly, rattling off old stories. I was the first to know Sinian liked Wenying back then. He admitted it himself. Oh, please. You couldn't have known before me. I caught Sinian slipping love letters into Wenying's desk. I saw Sinian secretly kiss Song Wenying's photo. No way. When? On the sophomore year bulletin board. Wenying had ranked first, and her photo was in the top row. It was hung to high. But Sinian still climbed onto a chair to reach it. My face turned scarlet under Song Wenying's thoughtful gaze. I wish the floor would swallow me whole. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Did you kiss my photo?" Her warm breath tickled my ear. I quickly pulled away and muttered defensively, "I did kiss it. So what?" Song Wenying only smiled. Soon, the conversation turned to Song Wenying. "By the way, Wenying, did your family move? During last year's holiday, I went home and found no one at your place." Song Wenying replied evenly, "I don't know. I haven't gone home in years." She said no more, and no one pressed her. Only I noticed something was off with Song Wenying. But before I could think further, our drunk class president dragged me into a new game. Truth or dare. Everyone's enthusiasm soared. After all, everyone lived in Jingbai, and over the years, several couples had broken up and gotten back together. I had planned to sit back and watch, but for some reason, the bottle seemed determined to target Song Wenying and me. The first time, the bottle pointed at Song Wenying. The class president handed her the cards. Song Wenying drew one. Everyone leaned in, their faces eager for gossip. "How many times have you been in love? Which relationship left the deepest mark on you?" I looked curiously at Song Wenying too. She held my gaze and said, "Once, with Sinian." My heart pounded fiercely, as if answering her words. The second time, the bottle pointed at me. "When did you cry the hardest?" "Why?" Someone cleared their throat. "Let's skip it. Sinian just got better." Everyone agreed, assuming the time I cried hardest was when I got sick. I tightened my hold on Song Wenying's hand and said, "During my first chemotherapy session, I was searching through my backpack when I found Song Wenying's graduation message. I cried because, at my lowest point, the person I loved wasn't by my side." Song Wenying squeezed my hand back, her fingers slowly tightening. The game went on. After that, the bottle landed on others. I heard several juicy stories too. A few questions landed on Song Wenying, but none were too personal. Song Wenying chose to drink. Before we knew it, it was late at night. The final round landed on Song Wenying. "What is something you've wanted to do for a long time?" The class president had already offered her a drink, but Song Wenying didn't take it. She said, "Marry Sinian." The sleepy room erupted once more. Amid everyone's cheers, I stared at her in disbelief. Before tonight, I had never dared hope to marry Song Wenying. The class president was drunk, and no one could hold him back. Ha ha ha. Let's congratulate this lovely couple on ending their 10-year romance. Class president, you're getting ahead of yourself. Save that speech for their wedding. Exactly. Looks like they won't need to hire an officiant. You can do it. Everyone burst out laughing as taxis drove away one by one. The night's festivities came to an end. The class president rubbed his eyes, then patted Song Wenying and me on the shoulders. "You two, take good care of each other. I'll be waiting to celebrate at your wedding." Watching him leave, I suddenly pictured our wedding, with him officiating and livening up the room. I gave Song Wenying's hand a little shake, hesitating to speak. "Would your parents object?" "Don't worry about them." She had been drinking and was a little tipsy. The moment we got home, she silently dragged me into the master bedroom. 2 hours later, I lay in bed, half dozing. In my haze, I heard Song Wenying on the phone. Her sharp, icy voice came through the crack in the door, filled with hostility I'd never heard before. I got out of bed and quietly opened the door. Song Wenying's voice came from the living room. "Mom, I've made myself very clear. This is my life. Stay out of it." I gripped the doorknob tightly, my palm slick with sweat. I knew I shouldn't eavesdrop, but my legs wouldn't obey me. They carried me to the corner outside the living room. Her mother's voice became clear. "If I stay out of it, should I watch you bring home a man who could die at any time? You work so hard to get where you are. Why throw it away?" Song Wenying let out a cold laugh. "Then tell me, who do you think got me where I am today? Without Sinian, there would be no Song Wenying today, and your Song family would never have had a doctor willing to work tirelessly and accompany you even to your checkups. That is what you should do." Song Wenying snapped. "Back then, for money, you changed my college application behind my back and forced me to stay in our hometown. Why didn't you think of this then?" Her parents fell silent. Song Wenying warned them, "If you still have any regard for me, then show Sinian some respect. If you dare give him any trouble, don't blame me for cutting you off." With a bang, she threw the phone onto the coffee table. At that moment, I sneezed from the cold. Song Wenying caught me red-handed. She rose and came around the corner, looking straight at me, hiding there and listening. Her irritation slowly gave way to helplessness. She sighed. "Aren't your bare feet cold?" "Oh, I came out for water." "Go back. I'll bring you some." I fled back quickly. When Song Wenying brought in the water, I had already hidden under the blanket, with only my eyes showing. Maybe because she just fought with her parents, she had an icy, Keep away from me here. Clutching the blanket, I sat up. Was what you said true? Which part? About your parents changing your college application. Song Wenying watched me finish the water, then took the empty glass and said, yes, if that afternoon I hadn't logged in and changed my application, I might not have known until I received my acceptance letter that they had altered my choices. So don't feel guilty that I changed my college choices. Without you, I wouldn't be who I am today. In the darkness, I cuddled close and hugged Song Wenying again. Was studying medicine hard? No. Liar. I'm not lying. Song Wenying slowly stroked my back. Sometimes I think that people meeting and finding each other again are simply fated. My voice was muffled. Even if we had never met, would you still think that? Yes. No matter how many years passed, Song Wenying and Sinian would always end up together. It was only a matter of time. After that day, I finally began seriously considering marrying Song Wenying. Song Wenying assured me that my chances of survival were very high and would barely affect my lifespan. If it didn't recur, I would likely live to be an old man. So we set the wedding for roughly 6 months later. In the meantime, I wanted to grow my hair back. At the wedding, at least we wouldn't both be bald. 6 months passed in a blink. I was lively again, with a little more flesh on my bones and much thicker hair. From a distance, my complexion was rosy and I looked full of life. One day, I found time to call my parents. Since we'd last spoken, 9 months had passed. Mom answered, hello, Sinian. How are things in Jingbai? What did the doctor say? My condition is stable. That's good. We hadn't heard from you in so long. Your father and I were thinking of coming to see you. If your brother weren't busy preparing for middle school, we would have gone. Not long after I got sick, my parents had my younger brother. Their focus shifted entirely to him. I didn't really blame them. A son who could die at any time couldn't compare with a child with excellent grades and character, a healthy second child. Besides, before my brother was born, they had spent a great deal on treating my illness. Before the call ended, I hurriedly told them I was getting married. What married? Someone wants to marry you? The words slipped out, her surprise impossible to hide. You know her, Song Wenying. She's in Jingbai now, a hematology specialist. That's good. Your father and I have no objections. As long as someone can take care of you, we can rest easy. Have you set a date? Where will the wedding be? Oh, wait, your brother spilled the dog's treats. We'll talk about the rest another day. As the dial tone sounded in my ear, the words about meeting the parents caught in my throat. Song Wenying squeezed my hand. What did they say? I looked up, stunned for a long moment, before saying numbly, they got a dog. No one told me. At first, my parents stayed by my side every day. Then, after my brother was born, they took turns bringing me to the hospital. Then I began traveling alone for treatment. Calls went from weekly to monthly, to once every 6 months. And now, they had gotten a dog, and no one told me. I couldn't describe how it felt. Song Wenying understood everything. She took my hand firmly and said, our marriage is between us. We'll decide it ourselves. Okay. We held the wedding in Jingbai. It was not extravagant. The night we registered our marriage, we had dinner with classmates and friends. Our class president got drunk again and wept loudly. He insisted on officiating right there. No one could stop him. The mood that night was wonderful, with the class president officiating. Song Wenying and I had a small wedding after all. We received heartfelt blessings from friends and classmates. Shingy tugged at Song Wenying's sleeve, demanding she swear to treat me well. Everyone crowded around, laughing and teasing. The next day, Song Wenying and I began our honeymoon. We promised that everywhere we went, we would take countless photos together and put them on our photo wall at home. Over the following years, we traveled across China. Mountains, lakes, deserts, and snow-capped peaks all became scenery in our photographs. The young couple slowly grew more mature. In time, fine wrinkles appeared at the corners of our eyes. Now, since our marriage, 20 years have passed. I had just left the hospital. I clutched a clean bill of health. Song Wenying was leaning against the car, waiting for me. I made a wish that I could spend the next 20 healthy years by her side. The year Sinian died, he was already a little old man. He had lived vibrantly for most of his life. His illness returned at 69. He did not survive his third chemotherapy treatment and left this world. By then, I was a renowned medical academician. Many people came to comfort me. They all said, the old man lived to 69. That is a good long life. He was diagnosed with blood cancer at 18. To make it to 69, he got so much extra time. Even before Sinian died, he held my hand and comforted me with a smile. I made it to 69. You have to call me a legend. When I am gone, use my medical records to publish papers. Play chess with other old men in your free time. After so many years with me, you must be tired of me. I only held Sinian's hand tightly and said nothing. Medicine had improved greatly since those earlier days. But for a 69-year-old man, those treatments were still too aggressive. Conservative treatment was the choice Sinian and I made together. So, when that day came, I was very calm. I calmly arranged Sinian's funeral and returned to our empty house. After more than 40 years with Sinian, we had no children. One person was suddenly gone from the old house. It was hard to adjust. I did not sort through Sinian's belongings. His clothes still hung in the closet. His toothbrush sat by the sink. The half-dead spider plant on the balcony. I kept watering it for him. That photo wall. From our first honeymoon at 28. Until we were 68, our photos from every destination covered it densely. More than 1,000 photographs remained firmly fixed to the wall. Sometimes, I sat quietly on the sofa, staring blankly at the photo wall. Then, at mealtime, I went out to buy groceries and came home to cook. At first, my students all worried about me and often came to visit. Their teacher and her husband had loved each other for a lifetime. They feared I might do something rash, but clearly, their fears were unnecessary. For nearly half a year, I went on living as usual. The house was spotless, and I began writing a book. I put all I had learned in my life into that book. My students gradually felt reassured. Another 5 years passed in a blink. I had reached the age of 74. Even a cold made me cough for half a month. That day was my wedding anniversary with Sinian. My students knew I was visiting Sinian's grave, so they did not disturb me. I got up early, dressed neatly, and dyed my hair black. On the way there, I carefully chose a bouquet of roses. They had just bloomed and still carried dew. As usual, I first went to see the cemetery caretaker, a man in his 70s. When he saw me, he cheerfully said, "Wenying, you came again. Did you get his letter?" The old man searched the mailbox for a moment, then shook his head. "None this year." I nodded and walked into the cemetery. I went to Sinian's grave, placed the roses before him, and sat beside his headstone. I took a well-preserved stack of letters from my coat. Each was protected in a sealed sleeve, without a single bent corner. After Sinian died, the caretaker gradually received these letters Sinian had written to me. Sinian had instructed the caretaker, "If she does not come to see me, do not go out of your way to give them to her." Why? It means she has begun a new life. What if she keeps coming? Then give them to her. I opened the first letter. Though I knew its contents by heart, I still read it word by word. Song Wenying, you miss me like crazy, don't you? Stop right there. I know what you are thinking. Think of what you promised me. You have to live well. Your students came to complain to me the other day. They said they had hit an academic problem. For humanity's progress, you have to keep working. And my spider plant, take good care of it. Bring it inside in winter. Keep it out of harsh direct sun in summer. Water it less, so its roots do not rot. When you have time next year, bring the spider plant to visit me. The second letter was from the following year. All right, you actually kept the spider plant alive. You were born with a green thumb. If I'd known we should have raised a child, you would have fussed over them so carefully. Now look at you. Then you will have no one with you when you are old. Have you found an old man you like lately? If you have, tell me about him. A widower would be easiest. I will ask around for you in the afterlife. I suddenly remembered 3 or 4 years ago, the yak hot pot we ate in Jujaigu. It was unbelievably delicious. I wish we had gone once more. Go once more for me. Do it for my sake. The summer solstice is quietly approaching. The likes in the south will soon ripen. Guiwei likes are the best. Fly there. Cough, cough, cough. There are so many places we never saw. We only saw half of Jiangxi. I remember you could really handle spicy food. Can you still eat it? As I read, I suddenly laughed. I could picture Sinian saying those words, chattering away just as he had in life. The stack of letters soon ran out. Only the final letter remained. It had arrived last year. You came again. Why do you come every year? Has your life become that boring? Who gets so bored they talk to a dead man? Professor, what should I do? I cannot write anymore. I have always feared you might act on impulse and come down here to find me. I have rambled on in so many letters to you. I counted them. There must be over 20 by now. Ha ha ha. I bet you will never read this far. You should have started a new life by now. Congratulations. But if you are still reading this, all right, I admit, I am deeply touched, but this has to end here. Song Wenying, I will not write any more letters. I am truly sorry for leaving you alone. Sometimes, when I think about it, ordering you to run here and there, selfishly insisting that you stay in this world, was terribly unfair of me. Everyone sees life differently. I will no longer interfere with any decision you make. I will no longer wish you health and a long life. I will wish for all your hopes to come true, and for you to be happy forever. After reading every letter, I sealed them again in their protective sleeves. In the late autumn of that year, I truly received no more letters from Sinian. Perhaps I no longer longer needed them. The cemetery caretaker had some drinks that night and fell asleep. After one night, the world outside lay blanketed in snow. It had snowed last night. Carrying a broom, he staggered inside. He passed rows of small mausoleums. At the turn, his view suddenly opened up. He let out a drunken burp and saw someone leaning against a gravestone in the distance. She was covered in a blanket of gleaming snow. She was curled up, clutching something to her chest, utterly still, as if asleep. The caretaker walked over and saw a layer of frost on his old friend's eyebrows. He reached out and gave her a push. Hey, Wenying. But Wenying collapsed, rigid as a board. She died at the age of 74. After 5 years apart, amid the biting wind and snow, Wenying seemed to glimpse Sinian's figure through her haze. He was a warm orb of light, smiling and waving to her from afar. Wenying lifted her feet and walked toward him, their fingers interlocking tightly. Every encounter and reunion is written in the stars. Wenying and Sinian were meant to be together. It was only